An upcoming economic crisis could rain down hell on consumers, especially those who survive from paycheck to paycheck. Robert Kiyosaki, an American investor, recently warned of how the upcoming crisis could lead people to go broke. Join us in today's video as we hear from a segment on his podcast.
And my concern is today, there's a lot of people, maybe they're not rich, but they're going to go broke. So this is the SOS show from Rich Dad. We're slotting it in tight. But let me give you my background on this whole thing about why we're in this crisis. This is in 1974. I was just getting out of the Marine Corps. I was stationed in Hawaii at Kaneohe Bay Marine Corps Air Station. And I was looking for a job. And so I went and I got a job with the Xerox Corporation, not because I love Xerox machines, but I had to learn how to sell. And that was the main reason. So I interviewed with two companies, IBM and Xerox. And I took Xerox. At the same time, there was this new thing called ERISA, which I really wasn't paying much attention to, but because I was interviewing with people, I kept hearing things called ERISA. And ERISA stands for Employee Retirement Income Security Act. And every time they say the governments tell you they're going to secure your retirement, you know it's toast. I mean, I don't trust my government as far as I can throw it, and you can't throw it anywhere. So ERISA then led to this thing called the 401k. So over the next couple of years, like say 74 to like 78, I saw this exodus of school teachers leaving the profession, because my whole family of school teachers, and they were becoming financial planners. It sounded good, like they were experts and all this. And all I was saying to my sick and not so politically correct dark side, this is the poor leading the foolish, And I said, we're going to have a disaster coming. So you have these guys who know nothing about money, school teachers or all these other people who are just quitting their jobs to have a profession called financial planner. And then they were advising people who knew nothing about money about their financial future. I said, man, there's going to be a train wreck in the future. Well, this is the show. The SOS is here. So if you are an old guy like me, a baby boomer who's had a 401k or an IRA, what I call defined contribution, DC pension plans, this is your show. And if you're a young person with a 401k, I'll take laps around the rosary beads for you tonight because you're an idiot. Now, one more thing I want to say here is this. We don't make recommendations. We don't tell people what to do because that's the problem. That's the primary reason people get in financial trouble. They want to be told what to do. And naturally, they'll tell them the same old garbage, the Susie Orman rhetoric, cut up your credit cards, live below your means, invest in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. Bullshit. I would never do that. But I don't have to do that. You see, you might have to do that. There's a difference. So that's why my advice depends upon who you are. Or what I do depends upon who you are. Most people, not to be tooting my own horn, but most people can't do what I do. But I practiced for all these years, since I was a kid. So this is what this show is about, because you might be in financial trouble. Your parents or your grandparents might be in severe financial trouble today because that 1974 Act, the ERISA Act, which led to the 401k and these IRAs and Roth IRAs, was specially designed for people who want to be told what to do. Go to school, get a job. Dave Ramsey's a friend of mine, and he says live debt-free. And truthfully, most people should do that, but I would never do that. Debt is money. So I come from the other side of the coin. It's all coins have three sides, heads, tails, and the edge. So on the other side of the coin is Dave Ramsey who's saying live debt-free, and most people should because they don't know how to handle debt. On the other side of the coin is I went to school to learn how to handle debt, how to raise capital using other people's money. And when you've lost somebody's money, it's pretty frightening. You say that the stock market's in trouble right now and the bond market?
Oh, 100%. And that's just not my opinion. I mean, that's my analysis, and that's the opinion of so many other people. We are in a storm right now, headed to a hurricane, a tsunami. Things are not going to get better anytime soon, and people really need to prepare. And there's two things that I look at closely. One is the savings rate and the credit card usage rate. Savings rates are dropping hysterically, and credit card usage is skyrocketing. And that's always been a forecast for the future of what we're headed towards.
So if, let's say you're 65 years old, you're set to retire, you have a 401k, what would you say to that person? I mean, we're not giving advice again, but...
Yeah. Well, I'd be very, very nervous right now. I mean, there's no place to hide. The stock market's crashed and will continue to crash. We're looking at a bond bubble bursting. Crypto's gone down. Even gold has been in the red. And so it's a really challenging time right now to be that 65-year-old wondering, hey, I want to retire, but how am I going to do that on my 401k assets? And this analysis of it's not an analysis, it's a fact that Social Security is going to be running out by 2034. We're looking at the perfect storm. So people must get proactive right now. They cannot just bury their head in the sand, as I've seen so many people do.
Well, one more thing. Let's say you're a 30-year-old and you're saying, I got a high-paying job and I got a 401k. What would you say to them?
Well, I mean, that's great. On this show many times, I've defended the 401k, not because it's a great retirement vehicle. It's because it's really the only retirement vehicle most people have. It was never designed to be the sole retirement vehicle for people. It was meant to be a supplement to people's pensions. But now the pensions are basically gone away. Companies aren't offering them anymore. And those that do are really curtailing the benefits. So now the 401k is really the sole retirement vehicle for most people. So if you're 30, I would definitely take advantage of it. But what I would be doing is educating myself to create my own passive income, building assets that generate cash flow. You cannot rely on your employer for your financial future.
Yeah, basically what you're saying is get active and not get proactive. And that's what the whole Rich Dad Company was founded for, was for those of you who want to learn how to be a capitalist, basically, how to manage your own frickin' money. Why turn it over to an idiot? I never understood that.
No, well, and by the way, this is not a paid endorsement. I tell this to everybody. The first thing they should be doing is playing the cash flow game. Because Robert, you talk about context all the time. There's no better way to build context over what you want to do in your life and really understand how the system works. That I would just play that over and over and over again. That is a game changer, especially right now.
What are you, after you kind of realize what was going on in the stock market, and there was all markets boom and all markets bust, but this could be the biggest bust in world history. It's a global bust. We might have a global depression again. So what did you start doing differently?
Yeah, no, it was a complete transformation in my thinking in terms of how to generate income in these types of markets. Even JP Morgan, the head of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, said, we are headed for a hurricane, not a storm, a hurricane. So things are really going to get ugly. And our debt to GDP at 125, that's not much further behind Venezuela, whose average citizen is 19 pounds underweight because there's no food. So we are headed towards that. So to answer your question, what I'm doing is I'm 100% cash. I've moved completely out of the market. Having said that, I do generate cash flow by trading options. It's a very successful strategy that I've incorporated. I have my books, my online course, and speaking is now starting to pick up. So I have other sources of revenue. I don't work for a paycheck. I haven't worked for a paycheck in 15 or 20 years now, but I am extremely proactive. And I'm always educating myself all the time, as you are, Robert.
People need oil. I invest in it. People need housing. I invest in it. People need food. I invest in it. There's a very big difference, but I invest with people who are doing what we invest in. Any comments on that, John?
Yeah, it just reminds me of the first time I walked into your kitchen 15 years ago, and all I saw on the kitchen counter were books. And it just struck me because not only do you read books, you devour books. Because by the time you've been through a book 1 or 3 times, which you often do, it is loaded with those little sticky tabs for important keynotes. So I think that the overarching theme here and why this show is so important and so successful is this all about education. It's all about education. Yes, the school system robbed you of any money education, but you can't blame them. It's time to move on and start educating yourself. And that's the key to this. You cannot sit back and wait for someone else or some other entity to take care of you. There's an absolute train wreck of a strategy. That's the strategy I call hope. And hope is not a retirement strategy. Sadly, too many people use hope as their strategy.
But the worst thing, John, is a lot of those people you talked to years ago, they're too old now. Do you know what I mean? That's the problem.
That's the problem.
So let me ask one of the final questions. What do as a new financial planner, like as a new Xerox salesman, I was trained to sell against IBM at the time, IBM machines. So as a financial planner, what are you taught, when the market crashes like this, what do you tell your clients who get nervous?
Yeah, the traditional rules that we were taught, that I was taught back in the day by the best firm on Wall Street, was buy and hold. Stay for the long term. It's not timing, it's time in the market.
What did you guys think of Robert Kiyosaki's analysis? What investments do you believe are the best for the upcoming crisis? Share your insights in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, kindly give a like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.